He always thought he was immortal, but he didn't know that his yard was full of divine weapons and the chickens he raised were more like phoenixes. It wasn't until after 5 years of living in Immortal Village when the system finally allowed him to come into contact with cultivators. It was then that he discovered that no matter how strong someone was, the moment they saw him, they would be so scared that their legs gets numb, and call him senior. Some even kneeled down and worshipped him. His name is Chinping. 5 years ago he came from Earth to this world of immortal cultivation. The same old crossing, the same old inability to cultivate without spiritual roots, the same old system. He never thought it would all happen to him. The difference is that you can't get stronger until you've completed 1,000 missions. A task is a trivial matter in life, and rewards are things that can be used in life. It depends on the system to live such a comfortable life. And Chinpeng frustratedly says, "What the crap is this? Give me Wi-Fi and air conditioning and I'll wear this." And he gets frustrated and sits down, and the system says to Chinpeng, "The new task has been selected." And Chinpeng says, "What's this task again? Making toys for the kids, or is there a couple having a fight again?" And the system says to Chinpeng, "Go to the mountain sect." And Chinpeng gets scared on hearing the system's words and he says, "The mountain sect? You don't know that's the immortal sect that governs the nearby mortal towns, do you? I've learned everything in the past 5 years except that I can't cultivate, so how am I supposed to get in as immortal? Are you finally going to give me a way to become stronger?" And the system says, "A man should be strong, the time limit is 3 months, if not completed, the host will be wiped out." So Chinpeng says, "I knew it, forget it, in the past 5 years, from delivering babies to making toys for children, all kinds of strange tasks have come, just one mission to join the mountain sect. And you want to make all my 5 years of hard work go to waste? I don't believe it, I can't handle it." Then Chinpeng starts going towards the mountain sect, but he doesn't know where the mountain sect is, and then the system tells Chinpeng, "Men should be self-reliant." And Chinpeng says, "Okay, shut up. I didn't count on you at all." After some time Chinpeng gets tired and sits under a tree and he is very disappointed and he says, "I'm lost. If I keep searching blindly for 3 months, it's questionable whether we can find it or not. This kind of immortal sect is usually hidden in the mountains, so there is no way to find out about it in mortal life. How can we find clues? Waiting to fall from the sky." And then a girl starts falling down from the sky and Chinpeng notices her. And he is very surprised and he tries to catch the girl, but before that the girl falls on the ground, and she becomes unconscious. And seeing a girl in front of him, Chinpeng thinks it's a girl? She is quite beautiful, she should be a cultivator if she can fall from the sky, right? But why did she fall from the sky? After a while the girl opens her eyes and she sees Chinpeng in front of her, and seeing him the girl gets scared and moves a little back from Chinpeng. But Chinpeng says to the girl, "Don't get me wrong. I didn't do anything." And the girl notices something and she starts asking Chinpeng for help in fear, and she calls Chinpeng senior. And Chinpeng is also surprised at why the girl is calling him senior. And then we see that some cultivators surround both of them. And Chinpeng is very surprised to see so many cultivators in front of him, and he understands that all these people are chasing this girl. And Chinpeng, a little scared, asks the girl, "Miss, there are so many of them, you'd better run away." And the girl is also a little surprised and she is unable to say anything. And Chinpeng says, "Your pity is useless." And looking at all these people Chinpeng thinks, "How can I, a mere mortal, beat so many immortal cultivators?" But then all those cultivators bow down in front of Chinpeng. And a cultivator fearfully says to Chinpeng, "I'm sorry for the disturbance, senior." And Chinpeng gets a little surprised after listening to that man and he says, "You immortal cultivators. Do you all like to kneel down?" On the other side of the scene at Chinpeng's house, a tree says to the chicken, "Hey, I don't know when the master will return from this trip." And the chicken says, "I'm obviously a phoenix, but I've become a chicken, I'm so embarrassed. This time I saw that the master packed a lot of things, even the kitchen knife was taken out, so why am I not so lucky?" And the carpfish says, "Me too, I have already turned into a dragon and still have to nest in this pit." And the tree says, "The kitchen knife shouts every day that he is already hungry and thirsty and wants to kill people, will he be unfettered?" And the chicken says, rest assured. If the master doesn't let him cut people, he won't dare. After this we see the girl, and the girl is thinking, when I first saw it, I was shocked, but I didn't make a mistake. This person is not an ordinary senior. And the cultivators are thinking very nervously, there is a rhythm of the Tao around him. It's hard to get close under such pressure. I thought I could catch Murong Shui without any problems, but I didn't expect her to meet such an existence. It's too terrifying. Just one look and it feels like my soul will be annihilated. It's just, monster. And all those cultivators are looking at Chinpeng like a monster. Then Chinpeng was about to say something to them, but before that the cultivator gets very scared and shouts, yes. If you want to tell us anything, please just tell us and we'll leave right away. And Chinpeng, seeing the actions of all these cultivators, thinks, this is too much. I get it. They are actually good people. I didn't want to attack a girl, but because of the system, I was just a mere puppet carrying out orders. And Chinpeng says to those cultivators, how about you guys go away? And when they hear Chinpeng's words, they start running very fast. Then the girl says to Chinpeng, this little girl Murong Shui, thanks the senior for saving my life. And Chinpeng says, fairy, get up, I didn't do anything, and you misunderstood, I'm just a mortal, not a senior. And the girl thinks, a mere mortal would be able to scare off 4 Jin Dan stage experts with just his Dao rhyme? But senior must have his own reasons for saying so. Then she says, that's right, senior is just a mortal. And Chinpeng says, no, your expression says you don't believe this at all. That's right. Did you say your name is Murong Shui? Is that the holy maiden of the mountain sect Murong Shui? And Murong Shui says, senior knows me? So Chinpeng says, exactly. Little Murong, I have to go to your sect, shall we go together? And Murong Shui says, our sect. Great, everything is at senior's disposal. And also Murong Shui thinks, I didn't expect to meet a big leg. Now not only can I find the back door to the mountain sect, but I can also experience a flight of immortal cultivators. And Murong Shui points to one side and says to Chinpeng, senior, the sect is over there. And she thinks, I didn't know that the sect had a connection with this kind of existence, so maybe it would give me some chance to experience the immortal's journey across the sky. Then Chinpeng says to Murong Shui, that little Murong, because I am a mere mortal, I can only walk, so you know. And Murong Shui says, understood. Then I'll walk with you, senior. After walking some distance, Murong Shui is sitting at a place and doing cultivation, and Chinpeng is sitting some distance away from her and cooking something. And Murong Shui is trying to increase her cultivation, but she is facing a lot of difficulty, and she fails, and she says, I still failed. I have been watching the water and enlightenment for several months, and there is still no way to break through the bottleneck. What should I do? And Chinpeng is lost in thoughts, and he is saying, I thought I could be led to the mountain sect, but it turns out that we still have to go step by step, which is so troublesome. Then Murong Shui says to Chinpeng, senior, I have a favor to ask of you. And Chinpeng says, girl, the problem you want me to help with, has it got anything to do with water? And Murong Shui says, yes, how do you know? This junior really admires the wisdom of the senior. And Chinpeng thinks, admires after you dry your clothes. It's making a gentleman like me unable to look at you. And Chinpeng's eyes are on Murong Shui's beautiful body, but Murong Shui is really a very beautiful, hot and sexy chick. Then Chinpeng moves his eyes away from Murong Shui, and Murong Shui thinks, not only the senior master can see I am cultivating water arts, but also instantly knew I am having difficulties due to a bottleneck. Senior master sure has mysterious ways. And Murong Shui says, senior, this breakthrough is very important to me. In the past I've sought guidance from my father and grandfather, but they are no longer around. Now I can only rely on your help to break through. And Chinpeng says, I am an outsider. I have no right to involve myself in your private affairs. First, drink this to warm yourself up. We'll discuss what to do later. You immortal cultivators have many means to help achieve breakthroughs. And Murong Shui says, I really can't ask them for help. And as soon as Murong Shui drinks that thing, she gets very surprised. Power starts flowing inside her, and she thinks, huh? What's happening? The senior is an immortal and doesn't want to meddle with the mortals. The statement before was the senior tactfully mentioning me to drink. This water, he meant instead of observing water and awaiting enlightenment one must be with water to be enlightened. I succeeded in breaking through, and Murong Shui bends in front of Chinping and says, Junior thanks the senior for the advice. I'll never forget this great debt of kindness. And Chinping is very confused because he does not know what he has just done. After some time they finally reach the sect mountain, and Chinping is looking at the surroundings and thinking, it deserves to be a big sect. It is so magnificent. I didn't expect that the little girl Murong would be the daughter of the sect master. It's no wonder that she can't even dry her clothes herself. We are entering through the back door. Even the handyman has to have the qualifications to enter through the front door. After listening to Xiao Murong's story I had a general grasp of the situation. And he is, Mountain Sect Master, Murong Yahai. And the sect master says, you can't see his cultivation base, but his chi is like an immortal? And he's surrounded by the rhythms of the Tao and every step is calculated. Who this may be and why is he unheard of? And why does such a person want to join our sect? And he is, Elder Qin Xian Mountain Sect. And the elder says, such a powerful master is joining here. Little girl, is this some kind of joke? But Murong Shui says, Dad, Uncle, I am not lying. I too was shocked to know that a senior was trying to join our sect. I told him to wait outside and came to find you. And the sect master says, say no more, little girl. You haven't seen the world yet. I think you've been deceived by some unorthodox cultivator. Brother Qin Xian, I'll come with you to study treasure later. First I must deal with the liar. And starts going to meet sect master Chinping. And Murong Shui is saying, Father, I am telling you. And the sect master says, dared to lie to my daughter? I have to see who has the guts to do so. I'll see if he can still keep up later. But when the sect master sees Chinping, he gets very shocked and he says to Murong Shui, little girl, you said that his whole body was emitting qi? And Murong Shui says, yes. Can't father see it? And sect master says, you call this emitting qi? It's more like his body is nothing but pure qi. And Chinping starts getting nervous after seeing the sect master and he thinks, he's here. That's the sect master. I must greet the senior with courtesy. And Chinping says hello to sect master, but sect master directly bows his head in front of Chinping and says, I didn't know that the immortal ancestors were descending here. If I knew I wouldn't have kept you. I have committed a sin deserving of death. And Chinping gets scared and says, sect leader, I am just a mortal. How can I let the sect leader kowtow before me? Please get up. And Chinping thinks, no matter how used to cultivators are to call others masters or brothers or sisters. Isn't this both father and daughter pair upping the game a bit? Then Murong Shui whispers in sect master's ear, the senior cultivating his mind as a mortal for restraining. You better not mention too much on cultivating so as not to anger senior. And sect master looks at Chinping and thinks, you can't think of him as a mortal in any way. Then sect master says, if you like you can call me Yahai. I heard the senior wants to join our humble sect. And Chinping says, that's right. If you allow it, I want to stay in the sect even if it's as a handyman. And on hearing this, sect master gets very scared. And Murong Shui also gets very angry and she says, Dad, are you crazy? And looking at both of them, Chinping says, why are you more anxious than me? Then the sect master says to Chinping, at this very moment I am resigning from my position of sect master. From now on you're our sect master. And listening to sect master, Chinping thinks, that guy is totally crazy. Then Chinping says, no, absolutely not. How can I be the sect master? And both of them think, I was careless. It seems that this post is not good enough for the senior. And the sect leader says, in that case, I will don't be polite. And Chinping thinks, you're not going to kick me out, will you? Then the mission will be ruined. And the sect master says, senior, I made the decision on behalf of my father to let him withdraw from the position of the sect ancestor. From now on, you are the only sect ancestor of our mountain sect? And Chinping thinks, then you are really a unfi little son. Is it so difficult to communicate with immortal cultivators? Although I can't cultivate, I've heard some things about the sect. I'm just immortal, I'm afraid I'm not even qualified to be a disciple, and you want me to be an ancestor? What to do? I've to find a way to persuade them. Then the sect master says, then it's settled. From now on, you are our sect ancestors. It was really impolite to let the senior stand here for a long time while speaking. Now sit in the hall ready. And Murong Shui tells her father, Uncle Qin Xian is still in the hall, right? You and Uncle Qin Xian both have the same attitude. Uncle Qin Xian doesn't know the situation, and if he suddenly says disrespectful words to senior. And sect master says, I totally forgot about this. You stay with the senior, I'll go in quickly. And sect master goes inside. And Chen Ping asks Murong Shui, your father has an internal emergency? But Murong Shui, she doesn't tell Chen Ping anything. After a while we see the elder who is looking at something, and then the sect master comes running here. And the elder says, Brother Yahai, have you driven away the liar outside? Then the sect master says, don't say that to senior. Xiaoxua didn't make a joke, senior's strength is unpredictable. They are on their way, don't be disrespectful later. This person is now the ancestor of our sect. And after listening to the sect master's words, the elder gets confused. Then he also goes to see Chen Peng and he says, no need to say more. Do you like to see what this man can do? And when the elder sees Chen Peng, he gets very shocked because dangerous energy is coming out of Chen Peng's body, seeing which the elder bows down in front of Chen Peng and says, I didn't know that the great master was here. I'm sorry for not welcoming you. I'm really sorry. And the elder thinks, what kind of luck did this guy Yahai have that he actually caught up with this kind of existence? And Chen Peng is surprised to see the elder. Chen Peng goes there and thinks, how much do you guys like to kneel? Or is this a courtesy among the cultivators? Then Chen Peng said to the elder, should I also kneel down? But the elder says, no way. And then something falls from the elder's side and Chen Peng is surprised to see it, and he picks it up and looking at it he says, where did you get this? Then elder tells senior, this is what my illusory moon sect disciples encountered on the way. The material of this object is unknown, and the interior is hollow. We both tried but couldn't open it. And Chen Peng says, what material is unknown? It is just ordinary wood, there is nothing good inside, it is just food. And on hearing Chen Peng's words, the elder gets surprised and so does the sect master. And both of them say, senior, your eyes can see what's inside. So Chen Peng says, I don't have that kind of skill, I made this stuff. Ah? Making toys for children is a task? Well, find some wood to make Luban locks. But the mechanism seems to be broken, so I can only open it in another way. I'll look for it. Then Chen Peng takes out a knife, and as soon as Chen Peng takes out that knife, sect master and Murong Shui feels that they are going to be killed right now. And sensing such a dangerous presence, both of them get very scared. And Murong Shui panics and says, just now. What happened? And the sect master says, such a frightening power. The world's treasures are far away from this, even the world's immortal weapons are not at this level, it's a legendary artifact. And Chen Peng cuts that food with a knife and something starts coming out from inside that food, which when the elder says, could this be a collision between laws? And Chen Peng cuts the food into two parts with a knife. Then we see that all three people get very scared after seeing the knife and move towards a corner. And seeing them, Chen Peng says, why are you hiding so far away? And Murong Shui seeing that thing asks, what is that thing? Then Chen Peng tells her, it's just candy. It's supposed to be a reward for kids to open their toys, so here you go. And Murong Shui starts looking at that thing and she thinks, candy? But the spiritual power is so strong. Then Murong Shui eats that thing. She takes it and as soon as she eats that thing, a lot of energy starts flowing inside her and she thinks, I advanced from the first level of pill formation directly to the 10th level of pill formation. And Murong Shui Chen Peng she tells him, not only did you save my life and guide me to break through, but you also gave me such a chance. I really don't know how to repay you. Can I give my body to you? And after listening to Murong Shui, Chen Peng thinks the person is beautiful. And her figure is good. Such a beautiful woman actually wants to offer herself to me because of a candy? There is a problem with your mind. And Chen Peng looks at Murong Shui's father and says, this girl doesn't need to be like this. I didn't do anything. I don't need her body, not to mention your father might not agree. And the sect master says, Senior, I have taught Shushua to be grateful since she was a child. I feel that this reciprocity is the best way to repay, and after listening to sect master, Chinping thinks, all her problems are inherited from you, right? And Chinping says to Murong Shui, your chastity is not something you should give because of a candy, do you understand? So Murong Shui says to Chinping, hey, when the senior comes to the mountain sect, he'll need someone to serve, how about letting me be your maid? And Chinping gets surprised on hearing Murong Shui's words, and Murong Shui makes a cute face and says to Chinping, am I really that bad looking? And sect master is also happy about this, and he gives thumbs up to Chinping. But the elder is getting very angry and he says, didn't you say that Xiaoxua will be my daughter-in-law? Now save me some face and stop it? But sect master says, if you have the ability, you can snatch it from your senior, it's unreasonable to blame others for your own incompetence. Not to mention that this is Xiaoxua's own desire. And the elder says, is this that deep? You are obviously greedy to have a senior's favor. And the elder thinks, I really don't know what kind of shit luck can keep this great god in the sect. Xiaoxua not only broke through but also rose up 10 levels in a row. What chance would my son have if he ran into him? My son is also very handsome. If he can. And after imagining all these things, the elder becomes silent. And Chinping is feeling something strange and he starts crying. Chinping starts looking at her and thinks, what weird things are you thinking about? Why am I suddenly feeling cold from behind? And Chinping says to Murong Shui, hey. That's it, let me go first. But Murong Shui says no. She hugs Chinping again. And Chinping thinks, don't hug. I can't hold back anymore. I was inexplicably pushed to the position of the ancestor by the sect leader, and the sect leader's daughter became my maid for some reason. There is no normal person here. Fortunately, the task was successfully completed. And Chinping says, by the way, sect ancestors, what do they do? And the sect master says, senior don't need to do anything. You are only needed when the sect needs to make some important decisions or encounter unsolvable difficulties. And Chinping says, that being the case, could you please ask a few people to fly me back? And Chinping thinks, if you want to fly, you can't say roundabout with this group of people, just say it. After some time they stand outside Chinping's house door, and sect master says, senior, as you requested, we are here. But Chinping becomes a little silent and sect master is a little surprised and he thinks, although the light travels in the blink of an eye a few miles, in the eyes of the senior, I'm afraid it's as slow as the speed of a turtle. Could it be that the time of senior was wasted? And Chinping thinks, unfortunately, the speed is too fast, there was no feeling of flight. Then Chinping opens the door and starts going inside and he says, forget it, I'm just thinking about things, since I'm here, I'll come in and have a cup of tea before I leave. Then I'll respectfully follow you. And the sect master thinks, fortunately, the senior did not blame. And the sect master says, unexpectedly, senior's residence is like this. Why don't I arrange for a superior place for you in the sect? And Chinping says, no, I actually prefer this life, and I still have fish and chickens to raise at home. And then the tree starts looking at those people and the chicken also starts looking at them. And between these two, these three are not able to bear the pressure because both of them are legendary creatures. Then Chinping says to them, huh? What's wrong with you guys? Then the sect master says, it's okay, just a little out of breath all of a sudden. And Chinping says, then you can take a tour of the courtyard, and I'll make some tea for you. And Chinping goes inside and all three of them are very nervous and are trying to understand the situation around them. Seeing this, these people are not able to say anything. Then the elder says, I've never seen such a scene, the peach tree that is surrounded by ki. The fish pond is surrounded by ki. The chicken is surrounded by ki. The broom that rhymes with ki. The whole yard, all of it. And Murong Shui says nervously, what kind of treasures are these? The place where the senior lives is too scary, what should we do? And the sect master says, maybe the senior is testing us, hang in there. We must hold on, it's a hell of a way to hold up. And Murong Shui is not able to breathe due to the pressure, and she starts having trouble. And then Chinping coughs from inside, due to which all the people reduce their pressure, due to which they are now able to breathe. And the sect master looks back and says it was the ancestor who ordered the drink, but I think we should check. Let's go in quickly. Senior! We are here! And Chinping thinks I was choked by drinking too quickly. And he says, finish the tour? Sit down, the tea has just been brewed. You guys were doing exercise in the yard. And Chinping thinks, my yard is not a playground, even after a few laps, they won't be so tired, right? Could it be, forget it, it's not my business. And Chinping starts making tea for them and says to them, please have a taste. And tell me if you like it. And when they see the tea made by Chinping, they get very surprised, and the elder says, what kind of elixir is this tea? And the sect master says, I don't know, but it should not be lower than the ancestor's kitchen knife, it is best not to move rashly. As for this tea, the key is fluctuating, and Murong Shui thinks, spiritual root is the foundation of every immortal cultivator, and the level of spiritual root determines the speed and purity of spiritual energy absorption. Only by smelling the fragrance of tea, the spirit root will be lifted. If you drink it. And as soon as Murong Shui drinks the tea, she is very surprised. And Chinping says, what's wrong? It doesn't taste good? And both of them also drink tea. All three of them like the tea very much, so they ask Chinping for one more tea. Then Chinping thinks, either you guys didn't like it or I imagined it. And Chinping says, I am afraid I don't have enough tea leaves. And they drink too much tea, due to which Murong Shui and elder start fainting, but sect master wants more tea to drink. But Chinping says to them, you guys don't laugh or panic? It's just I have drunk all the water, and now there is no water. And then the elder takes out something from his pocket, and says to Chinping, Senior, I still have it here. But Chinping asks them to leave from here, and Chinping drops them at the door, and says to them, drinking too much is bad for your health. Go back. And sect master says, we'll remember the ancestors' teachings. And they start leaving, and Chinping thinks, what did I teach again? Finally gone. I am going shopping in the town to eat, or else I'll starve to death. Then we see an old man, and he is the former ancestor of the mountain sect. And he says, the blazing sun rises? A sign of epiphany. At this moment, I think by watching the sun there is a 60% chance to break through the bottleneck. When you reach the spiritual stage, you can't make mistakes. Soon, it's almost there. And then blood starts coming out of Ancestor's mouth, and we see that someone comes to Ancestor and says, hey, you're back here. I have great news for you. You seem a little upset? But Ancestor gets very angry at the sect master, and he takes out his sword and is ready to attack the sect master, and says, I have bad news for you. And Ancestor starts beating the sect master in a very dirty way, and Ancestor is saying, you destroyed my cultivation base, you had a grudge against me in your last life, right? And the sect master says, stop hitting. Father. Ah. And the elder says, your grandpa seems to be very unhappy? So Murong Shui says, probably, father is the reason. And after beating the sect master for a long time, Ancestor stops and he says to the sect master, you think I'm joking, right? And the sect master says, don't be angry, our clan has a senior, and he'll help you break through. And Ancestor says, unless the Immortal descends to the earth to enlighten me, no one can help me break through the bottleneck. My excellent cultivation was destroyed by you. And sect master says, father, you don't believe me? And Ancestor says, how about we bet I dare you? And sect master says, you dare? What will I get if we win? And elder says, it's good. I bet 10,000 spirit stones. And Murong Shui says, me too, I'll also gamble on 10,000 spirit stones. And Ancestor thinks, these are almost all of their net worth, and they dare to take it all out to bet. And sect master laughingly says, what? You dare? And Ancestor says, so rude. Lead the way. After some time they reach near Chinping's house door. And Ancestor starts looking around, but he doesn't find anything special at this place. Then Murong Shui says to Ancestor, Grandpa, speak carefully. And sect master says, that's right, don't say anything rude. Senior regards himself as immortal to cultivate his mind. Father never mentioned cultivation matters. And Ancestor says, humph. Play a liar! I want to see what this immortal looks like. And as soon as Ancestor enters Chinpeng's courtyard, he feels a dangerous pressure due to which he sits on the doorstep. And he is very shocked and he thinks, this damn thing is really an immortal's residence. The pressure alone makes me unable to move. What kind of divine existence these things are? And then a dangerous thing starts moving towards these people, and it is Chinpeng's knife. And the chicken asks the knife to stop, and on hearing the chicken, the knife stops and turns its fist to the other side. But the power of the knife is very dangerous, and seeing this thing, the sect master is very shocked. And seeing a kitchen knife in front of him, Ancestor gets very shocked and he thinks, kitchen knife? Which treasure is that? And the kitchen knife says, Phoenix, this old man is not a good person at first sight, and I haven't seen him before, so he should be fine after cutting him off. And Ancestor thinks, a tool with such a high level of intelligence, it's something beyond an immortal tool. And he called this chicken king of beasts, Phoenix. And the chicken says, this old man looks like a fool, aren't you afraid that he'll become more stupid after getting cut? And the Ancestor thinks, what the hell is this place? And the kitchen knife says, it seems to make sense. And he starts to go back, but before going he says, you better behave. Otherwise, even if I become stupid, I will kill you. And the kitchen knife goes inside Chinpeng's kitchen. And the Ancestor says to the chicken, thank you for your mercy, your great grace is unforgettable. Then the sect master says, Father, you should believe it now, when will you complete your bet? So Ancestor says, you are mentioning this now. But Ancestor slaps him and says, your father almost died. You are still thinking about the bet here. And Murong Shui says, Grandpa, it looks like Senior is not here, so please bear with it first. You should be able to get help when Senior comes back. And Ancestor says, I'll listen to my granddaughter. Then we see Chinpeng, who is coming from the market with some vegetables, and he sees these people coming and he thinks, why are they back again? I don't want to make tea anymore. How about I go out and hide? Then Chinpeng starts to leave, but Murong Shui sees Chinpeng and she says, we have been waiting for so long, you are finally back. And Chinpeng looks back and he says, you. Why did you come back so soon? Is there anything else I can do for you? And Murong Shui tells Chinpeng that his grandfather has come, and Chinpeng gets shocked hearing this, and he thinks, damn it! Murong's grandfather, isn't he the true ancestor of Mountain Sect? How could he kneel in my yard? I can't afford to offend such a character. No matter what happens, I have to apologize. And Sect Master says, Father, the ancestor is here, and there is key lingering around him. The first time you see it, remember to control yourself. And then Chinpeng comes behind Ancestor and asks him to get up, and as soon as Ancestor sees Chinpeng's power, he gets very surprised and he thinks, you call this key around his body? It's all over the place. The stronger you are, the more you can see and feel. And Ancestor greets Chinpeng and calls him Senior. And Chinpeng gets surprised, but he says to Ancestor, Senior, please get up, I am just a mortal, you can't kneel before me. And Ancestor thinks, the suffocation is gone. He can make Ki obey so passively, he's a real immortal. And just like Yunhai said, the Senior treats himself as a mortal to cultivate his mind. And Ancestor says, the Ancestor is too generous, you can call me a junior or palace elder, but please never call me a senior again, I really can't take it. And Chinpeng says, then I will call you old man. Since we're all here, let's go in and sit down. Make yourself at home. And on hearing Chinpeng's words, all three people become very happy and think, there is tea again. And Chinpeng says to them, I won't make tea this time. How about a meal? And Ancestor says, as you wish, Senior. Then both of them sit near the table inside Chinpeng's house, and Ancestor is speaking to them, I owe you a bad face. Why all the stinky faces? I will give you those spirit stones when I go back. I guessed it wrong this time. I really didn't expect such a senior to live in seclusion in our backyard. And Sect Master says, do we care about those spirit stones? We just want to drink tea. And Ancestor says, drink tea? Just get yourself some? Senior isn't a stingy turner. And then Ancestor feels a dangerous pressure due to which his head hits the table. And when he looks in front of him, there is a treasure in front of him, and he thinks, what a strong pressure. Could it be, this is also a treasure? And sect master says, Father, we didn't dare to move since we entered the house and you dared to touch them. And ancestor says, tell me that earlier? And Chinpeng is cooking very good food inside the kitchen and he thinks, this pepper is really choking. This fried smell is good. And when the elder smells the aroma of the food prepared by Chinpeng, he gets very surprised. And then he makes a breakthrough, and he becomes very happy. And seeing this, all three people get very surprised and ancestor says, wrong. Smell carefully, this is not a simple fragrance, but pure aura. And sect master says, what kind of panacea is being fried? The aroma alone has such a pure air, the dishes that will be served must be divine. And Chinpeng has prepared the food and he says, you are welcome to taste the dishes, I'll get the rice. And all four of them are looking at the food and saying, goodness gracious, we'll help ourselves. And Chinpeng thinks, no. I hope you guys will be polite this time. Why do I have a bad feeling? Fortunately, I cooked a lot of rice this time. And Chinpeng is bringing rice for them, but when he looks in front, he gets very shocked because those four have already finished the food prepared by Chinpeng. And they are looking at Chinpeng and saying, seem you're troubled to add a bowl of rice. And Chinpeng says to them, are you eating the last meal of your life? And Chinpeng is very shocked and he thinks, you can also eat stew and light rice like a starving ghost, the life of a cultivator is too miserable. Girl, pay attention to your image. And they have completely eaten the food and even rice is not left, and they are now resting and sect master says, thank you for the hospitality. And Chinpeng thinks they even licked the plate clean. And now the cultivation of all of them has increased. Elders' cultivation, 5th stage of yuaning to 8th stage. And ancestors' cultivation, peak of spiritual core to 1st stage of divinity. And Murong Shua's cultivation, 5th stage of qi gathering to infant core. And sect master's cultivation, yuaning's 8th stage to the 5th stage. And ancestor thinks while crying, I finally broke through. I thought that the bottleneck would accompany me for the rest of my life until it made me so depressed. And ancestor bows down in front of Chinpeng again and he says, Senior, I will not forget this great kindness, even in my next life. And Chinpeng thinks, what in the world does it mean? And Chinpeng moves his hand towards ancestor and says, this is something not worth gratitude. And ancestor gets very happy and he says, then when we have time in the future, can we come to eat more with seniors? But Chinpeng gets angry after listening to ancestor, and he throws all four of them out of the door and says to them, you should go and cultivate. And now they start leaving. And the sect master says, Father, it's too shameless to say this kind of thing. And ancestor slaps him and says, you are shameless. How dare you talk to me like that? I couldn't help just now. I was too excited and accidentally said something. But the senior has great magical powers. How can he be angry because of such a trivial thing? Then we see Chinpeng who is getting very angry, and he is saying, I haven't even eaten a single bite of rice. And you still want to come every day, you are too shameless. And ancestor goes ahead and says, the ancestor told us to cultivate. That reminded me, greed can't stabilize the foundation of cultivation. The strength gained in this way is in vain. And on hearing ancestor's words, the elders and sect masters start laughing, and ancestor angrily says, I think you are really owed your ancestor. And Murong Shue says, HM. Yes, Grandpa, I get it. And ancestor think it's better to have a granddaughter. And ancestor turns back and says, Qing Xian, you'd better tell others about your new ancestor. And elder says, Qing Xian understands, then I will leave first and return to the sect. And then elder gets a message, Qing Xian. Remember. Don't return to the sect. Don't return to the sect. And on hearing that message, the elder understands that this message is from his father. And ancestor says, your father? Could it be? 1,000 words of secret voice. And the elder says, that's right, this is the most urgent contact method of our sect. Once used, it means, the sect is under. Then the scene shifts to illusionary moon sect. Then we see a man who has attacked this sect, and he is laughing and saying, Zhang Xiaofeng. When you abolished my legs, did you ever think that I would be able to break through to the 1st stage of the divinity realm? I want your whole sect to be buried with you. And we see an old man, and he is Zhang Xiaofeng, the ancestor of the illusionary moon sect. And Zhang Xiaofeng says, you destroyed a whole village and killed many people, you had to be punished. I just hate that I didn't kill you directly at that time. And this man says, oh? You're not afraid to die? And Zhang Xiaofeng says, what's the harm in dying? God bless my illusionary moon sect. My son is not in the sect today, he will surely avenge me one day. And then the elder comes behind him, and the elder is Zhang Xiaofeng's son. And Zhang Xiaofeng gets very angry on seeing his son and says, what are you doing back? Are you in time for dinner? Didn't I tell you not to return to the sect? And the elder says, as the head of the sect, it would be unjustifiable for me not to come back after such a big event. And it's just the first stage of the divinity realm. And both of them get very surprised on hearing the words of the elder, and that man says, that's right? Zhang Xiaofeng, I think you are stupid. Do you really think that the divinity stage is a cabbage that can break through just by eating every day? If you can call a divinity realm person, I'll call him father on the spot. And then Ancestor comes behind him and he says, who are you calling a cabbage? And feeling Ancestor's presence, this man's heart starts beating fast, and he looks back and asks, who is he? So Ancestor moves his hand forward and catches his face, and using his power says, to say if I'm your father then it would be an insult to my granddaughter. And the Ancestor starts burning that man. And Zhang Xiaofeng is surprised to see Ancestor, and he does not know who that man is, so the elder tells his father, it's Uncle Murong in the same realm. And after killing that man, Ancestor laughs and says, Nanana, happy now. Why are you causing a ruckus? Fortunately, I came in time. And Zhang Xiaofeng says, Mountain Sect Ancestor? It's really you, old fellow, what's the matter with your cultivation? And Ancestor says, this is a long story. At the same time he thinks, I was determined not to believe in the matter of the senior, so he took the opportunity to bet with the sect leader and lost terribly. And Ancestor further says, in fact, there is an immortal master living in a mortal town in the jurisdiction of our sect. After we had a meal with him, I broke through the bottleneck. And Zhang Xiaofeng says, that's it, take me to see Senior. So Ancestor says, you believed what I said? Don't you suspect that I lied to you? And Zhang Xiaofeng says, impossible. My trash son's power increased by leaps and bounds. What's more, I have had a friendship with you for many years. Who else do I believe in? And Ancestor says, I didn't expect you to say so. The true senior came down to the earth and treated himself as a mortal to cultivate his mind. We just left the Ancestor's house, and it's not very good to bother him again. What's with this expression? And Zhang Xiaofeng says, are you lying to me? And Ancestor thinks, where are the years of friendship now? And then both of them feel a dangerous pressure, and the elder is shocked and says, what is this sound? Earthquake? And Zhang Xiaofeng says, wrong. There is a strong spiritual pressure coming. And then Ancestor notices something and he says, what? That direction is the location of the senior's residence. Let's go check it out. Maybe I can catch dinner at the senior's house. And they both go towards Chengpeng's house and the elder says to them, What about me? You guys take me too. Then we look towards Chengpeng's courtyard and the chicken also notices something and he says, what? I am detecting some trouble. Then the chicken hears Zhang Xiaofeng and Ancestor's voice. And Zhang Xiaofeng is saying, this is the residence of the senior? And Ancestor says, the door is locked, seniors must be outside. It seems that I can't eat dinner at senior's house. And Zhang Xiaofeng says, why do you always worry about dinner at senior's house? But then Zhang Xiaofeng's attention starts going towards the sky and every now and then some colored energy is visible in the sky. And seeing that, Zhang Xiaofeng says the chi quaked just now due to this secret cave. After the secret cave, the secret realm descends. With such a large secret cave, the secret realm may be the size of an entire town, which means that the towns below will be razed to the ground. Is it the doing of Ancestor? And Ancestor says, impossible, Senior cultivates himself as a mortal. He'll never use his cultivation to do such cruel things. Let's go, it's no use staying here, we have to save as many people as we can in the town while there is still time. And Zhang Xiaofeng says, that's right. And then something falls down, and both of them are surprised to see that thing. And from inside that thing a golden-colored dragon starts coming out, and that thing starts going directly towards the secret realm and starts eating him. And seeing that dragon, Zhang Xiaofeng says, "That is a dragon? Am I right?" And Ancestor says, "Yes, but what if I tell you there is a phoenix inside?" And then Zhang Xiaofeng notices something and says, "Phoenix? Who can command both the dragon and king of beasts together?" "Immortal Emperor." And on the other side a portal opens in the jungle and a sword comes out of that portal, and that sword thinks, "Very good. Finally escaped to the mortal world. The damn blood moon sect actually wants me to apologize. Although I am severely injured by the turbulence in the teleportation formation, my spirit body is not damaged, and I'll regain my true form in 100 years or so." And then someone sees that sword and he is surprised that what is the sword doing here. Then that man moves his hand towards that sword, and he thinks, "If a mortal touches me, he will be crushed by my aura, just blame yourself for bad luck." And that man likes the sword, so he picks it up. And we see that the one who picks up that sword is Qimping. And the sword is thinking, "How come he's fine? This person. What kind of entity is he?" And Qimping says, "It's good, I'll take it on." And the sword thinks he is surrounded by qi and rhymes. I don't understand it. Is it really the mortal world? How could there be such a strong man? Where am I? And Qimping looks at the sword and says, "Did it move by itself? Is it a high-end magic weapon? Maybe it can be sold at a good price." And the sword thinks, "Many strong people wanted to serve me in an immortal world. I didn't expect to fall to this point now. First-grade herbal medicine? Most are the common medicinal materials and the best are only first-grade elixirs. Plus he couldn't see my level just now. I see, he is just a mortal. My body was severely injured and sharply reduced, so he was able to pick me up. What I saw just now was a visual illusion. Here is the ordinary world." And then someone says to the sword, "Shut up." And Ho is in front of the sword and Ho is staring at the sword. And Qimping feels some movement in his bucket, and he looks at the bucket and says, "Why did it suddenly move so badly?" And Ho, he says to the sword, "Don't move." Sword gets very scared after hearing Ho's words and he becomes silent. And sword thinks, "If I am not wrong, this Ho is actually an artifact." Then Qimping starts looking towards the sky and sees that something is felt. And we see that Ancestor starts going towards that secret realm, but he asks his companions to stop him. And some dangerous power starts coming down from the secret realm, seeing which Qimping is surprised and he says, "Black hole? Beam of light? It won't be the so-called secret realm, right?" And then the system appears in front of Qimping and tells him that a new task has arrived, and Qimping is shocked. And it says, system prompt? The task shouldn't be related to black hole, right? Wait, you don't want me to solve the beam of light? Lottery reminder. And the system says, the remaining lottery one will expire in 5 hours. Please use it as soon as possible. And Qimping says, come to think of it, when the task was completed, I forgot to draw the lottery. At the beginning, I was quite excited, but later I found that I could only take out daily necessities, which was completely useless, so I ignore it all the time. Forget it, just click it. Fortunately, it is not related to the beam of light. And Qimping draws a dew to which a portal opens in the sky and a flute comes out of that portal, and seeing it Qimping says, bamboo flute, this time I drew a good one. I learned it in my last life. I'll try it when I get home. And Qimping puts the flute in the bucket. And when Sword sees the flute she gets surprised and she says, damn it! Another artifact. The power it's emitting is no joke. Impossible, absolutely impossible, it must be an illusion. And Qimping has come back from the jungle and he is very tired and he says, I'm exhausted, let's wash my face first. And Sword gets very shocked seeing the things around him and he says, what the hell is this? The whole house is full of artifacts. I've been in the immortal world for thousands of years and I haven't seen such a scene. And what the hell is the peach tree outside? It's holier than the holy divine peach tree of Immortal Emperor. And the rooster and the goldfish in the pond are hundreds of times stronger than the dragon and phoenix of the Immortal Emperor. And then the flute gets very angry and says to the sword, "This rubbish. Why did the master pick it up?" And Ho says, "That's right, at first, this ant kept babbling crookedly. If it weren't for the master to find out, I really would have destroyed it." And Apot says, "Hey, dare he insult the master, I should ruin it." And after listening to all these words, Sword gets scared and he says, Big elders are so wise, this silly one doesn't understand the rules, and big elders don't get angry. Where the hell am I?" Then we see that the secret realm is also emitting bright light. And Murong Shui uses her power to attack like a secret realm, but it makes no difference. And Murong Shui feels a lot of pain in her hands and she says to Ancestor, "Grandfather, this is too hard." And Ancestor says, "Don't try, this is the secret realm, even the second level of divinity is powerless. Without an entrance, the beam of light staying, does it require a secret word to open it?" And Zhang Xiaofeng says, "That would be troublesome. Should we ask Senior for help?" And Ancestor says, "I know that you want to see Senior, but with such a big movement he must already know. If he isn't showing up, that means he just wants us to solve it by ourselves, don't bother him. Moreover, maybe the Senior will really come later." And Zhang Xiaofeng says, "How are you so sure?" And we see that a brighter light starts coming out of the secret realm, which is very powerful. Then the scene shifts to Qinpeng's house. And Qinpeng is not able to sleep properly because of that light, and he says, "I'm so annoyed, haven't they solved it yet? Also let people sleep." And listening to Qinpeng's words, his kitchen knife says, "I'll stop what is interfering in Master's sleep." And the knife comes back to its original form and starts going out. Then Murong Shui realizes that someone is coming from Qinpeng's house. And seeing him, Zhang Xiaofeng says, "Coming? Is that the Ancestor?" But Ancestor says, "No, that's Senior's kitchen knife." And Zhang Xiaofeng says, "Kitchen knife? Also, why are you covering yourself?" And the knife starts looking towards the beam and he thinks, unexpectedly, something of this intensity appeared in the mortal world, although it's not rare in the immortal world. Interesting, but a pity, in front of the sword spirit. It's nothing. And the knife attacks towards the secret realm, and due to its attack, a dangerous attack falls on the beam and the knife says, "It seems I was thinking too much, it turned out to be rubbish." And then that bright light starts getting destroyed due to the knife's attack. And to avoid that destruction, all three make a barrier, and when the smoke clears, they see that there is something in front of them which is shining very brightly. Then we see a girl inside it who is tied with chains. Then due to the knife's attack, all the chains tied on this girl break and that girl regains consciousness, and she becomes very happy. And the knife also notices that girl, so he becomes a little serious. And Murong Shui gets very happy when she sees in front of her and she says, "Grandfather, the beam of light broke open, let's go and see what good things there are." But Ancestor stops Murong Shui, and we see that there is a very dangerous thing in front of them, and from that bright light the same girl starts coming out. And the knife is looking at that girl. And that girl comes out and says, "I didn't expect this. The Tianyuan realm?" And Ancestor panics and thinks, "Immortal from Immortal realm? Such a big secret realm is a cage used to imprison her?" And Ancestor says to Zhang Xiaofeng, "We got to meet another immortal." But Zhang Xiaofeng says, "At a time like this, you are still joking? I want to meet Senior, not the immortals who want to take my life." And Murong Shui panics and says, "Grandfather, what should we do now?" Then Ancestor says, "There is no way, we can't even escape in front of the immortal fairy, our only hope is that Senior's kitchen knife." And the kitchen knife says, "Hello, little girl, state your identity." But the little girl is very angry, and she directly attacks the kitchen knife, but the kitchen knife thinks these are small tricks. And using his power, he easily catches the little girl and he says to her, "Since when an immortal from the origin realm worthy of shouting in front of me? Cultivators from the immortal emperor realm are all old rubbish." And Ancestor gets very shocked after hearing the words of the kitchen knife, and Zhang Xiaofeng says to him, "What is the realm of the Senior?" And the kitchen knife uses his power, and he says, "Let's see what made you go crazy." And the kitchen knife starts checking the memory of this little girl and he sees that she is a little girl but an immortal emperor has used some kind of technique on her. And seeing that the kitchen knife becomes a little sad, he feels a little bad. Then he says to Ancestor, Hey! You there, you are not allowed to tell anyone about what happened, otherwise you know the consequences, right? An ancestor says, the subordinate understands. And the kitchen knife takes the little girl with him and goes away. And Zhang Xiaofeng is watching both of them going and he says, it seems that Senior wants to see that crazy woman? An ancestor says, it should be to investigate her identity. In the end, due to our powerlessness, Senior had to take action. We mustn't disturb him anymore. Shire, you go down and crave this in the hearts and heads of all disciples. If anyone dares to say anything about these events, they will be killed. Those who fled will be chased to the end of the world. And Murong Shui says, I got it, but, it seems, we can't hide it, right? After some time, a kitchen knife comes to Chenpeng's house with the little girl, and the chicken says to him, why did you bring her? And the kitchen knife says to the tree, Peach tree, I'll leave her to you. I will go back first. So the tree comes in its human form and it starts looking at the girl and she gets very surprised and she says, what a ruthless immortal. He was so cruel to a 6-year-old girl. And the tree starts using its power, due to which a flower comes out of its hand, and that flower goes inside that girl, due to which that girl now slowly starts getting well. And hiding all these things, the sword is looking at it, and he says nervously, what's going on? That person is the daughter of the immortal emperor, Su Ling. Then Su Ling opens her eyes. And seeing Su Ling, tree and chicken find her very cute. And really Su Ling is very cute. But she is surprised that where is she right now? So the tree uses her power and tells her, this is your home from now on, you'll call the master your big brother. And hiding all these things, he is looking at the sword and he thinks, I have a hunch that the immortal emperor won't stay still. Then the scene shifts, immortal realm, and we see the immortal emperor who is looking at a token and he thinks, who was it that destroyed my secret realm that I made myself, and let Linger regain her consciousness? And he says, my daughter. Dad will send someone to find you. Then some people come in front of the immortal emperor, and they are ready to do the order of the immortal emperor. And the immortal emperor says, pass down the order to all the powerhouses in the heavenly court that they are ordered to immediately descend to the earth to find the trace of my daughter. Help me find my daughter, I shall reward them with this world's throne. Next morning, Chenpeng is sleeping in his room and he is saying, it's been a while since I last slept like this. Then Su Ling comes to wake Chenpeng up and she calls Chenpeng brother, and she says, the sun is at its peak. Brother. And Chenpeng is very surprised when he sees a little girl in front of him and he says, little sister, who are you? Why are you here? And Su Ling says, my name is Su Ling. This is my home. And Chenpeng looks at the little girl and thinks, here? What does this mean in this small town? But it's impossible that I haven't seen such a cute little girl in the 5 years I've lived here. Then Chenpeng gets down from his bed and he puts his hand on Su Ling's head and says, Su Ling, right? Then I'll call you Xiaolinger. My elder brother will take you to find your parents, okay? You have to follow me and don't get lost again. And Su Ling holds Chenpeng's hand and they both start going outside and Chenpeng is saying to Su Ling, let's go to town and show me the direction of your house. An hour later, Su Ling tells Chenpeng, my home is here. And Su Ling has brought Chenpeng back to his house, and Chenpeng disappointedly says, here. Isn't it my house? And Chenpeng thinks, we came back here again? And Chenpeng says, Xiaolinger, do you remember what your parents look like? So Su Ling says, I don't remember, but Peach sister. And before Su Ling could say anything, the tree got very nervous and hit Su Ling on the head with a stone. And seeing this, Chenpeng gets a little nervous and he asks Su Ling, Xiaolinger, are you okay? And Chenpeng gets nervous and thinks, Su Ling should have passed through the middle of Qingyuan town with her family and got lost. She didn't know what happened. And then maybe she fell on her head, which caused her memory confusion. Now it's difficult. And Su Ling says, brother, you don't want Linger? And Chenpeng, seeing Su Ling's cute face, puts his hand on her head, but he thinks, guess I'll take care of her until I find her parents. And then Chenpeng hears someone's voice from outside his house. And it is Ancestor. Then Chenpeng opens the door, and asks Ancestor, why are you here? So Ancestor says, Senior. This is my friend Zhang Xiaofeng. He wanted to meet Senior in person, so I took him to disturb you. And Zhang Xiaofeng says, I greet seniors and thank them for his grace. And when Zhang Xiaofeng sees Qinpeng, he is also surprised and he thinks, sure enough, he's as powerful as Murong said. And Qinpeng gets a little confused and he thinks, help? Have we met before? Crap, there is another one. What now? And then Su Ling comes out and asks Qinpeng, brother, who are they? And Ancestor seeing Su Ling asks who Su Ling is. So Qinpeng tells Ancestor, this is my sister Su Ling, 12 years old, an ordinary person just like me. Linger, hurry up, greet Grandpa Murong and Grandpa Zhang. And Su Ling says, hello, Grandpa Murong. Hello, Grandpa Zhang. And when they both see Su Ling they both get very scared and they both think, ordinary person? Did he just say ordinary people? And Zhang Xiaofeng thinks this little girl looks a lot younger than Shuer, the youngest genius in Wangqing. And even she doesn't have this kind of strength. And Ancestor thinks, I am afraid she's also an immortal cultivator. But when I think that she's the senior sister, it's not strange at all. If both siblings are so terrifying, then what are their parents like? And Qinpeng says to both of them, come in and sit for a while. Fortunately, only 2 of you came. The food should be enough. So Zhang Xiaofeng says, I dare not. How can we be so shameless to eat at the senior's house? And Ancestor starts staring at Zhang Xiaofeng, and he quickly shuts Zhang Xiaofeng's mouth and says, as you wish, senior. Then Qinpeng and Su Ling start going inside and say, don't be so polite, just get fresh first. And Su Ling says, is brother going to cook? Let me do it. And Su Ling goes to cook food for them. And Qinpeng says, I didn't know that Linger could cook, but I don't know how it tastes. By the way, there are children this time, so please pay attention to eating habits. And on hearing Qinpeng's words, Zhang Xiaofeng whispers to Ancestor, what did you eat at your senior's house before that made you lose control and you forgot manners? And Ancestor says, control yourself if you have the ability. And then Zhang Xiaofeng smells a very fragrant scent. And then Su Ling comes there with the food she has prepared, and as soon as she opens the pot, a very bright light starts coming out of the pot, seeing which both of them get very surprised, and Zhang Xiaofeng says, this is. What heavenly treasure is this? After some time we see that both of them are very happy after eating a lot of food, and Qinpeng gets a little disappointed and he thinks, a sack of rice is done again, you two are devils. Although I'm very unwilling, Linger's cooking skills are much better than mine. It's simply on the level of a senior chef. And Qinpeng asks Su Ling, Xiao Linger, who did you learn cooking from? So Su Ling says, huh? I don't know, but I found myself able to cook a lot of dishes. And Qinpeng gets happy and he thinks, lots of dishes. In other words, I don't have to cook again. Then we see Qinpeng's utensils, who is crying and he thinks, my soulmate. Although I'm sorry for the master, this is called a real meal. Chopper, you tell Divine Peach to add a few more seals to Linger's memory, so she don't remember any of her old self, but the kitchen knife says, ah. It's so noisy. And Zhang Xiaofeng cries and thinks, finally broke through. Unexpectedly, I really broke through after a meal and reached the first stage of divinity. And Ancestor thinks, not only does it taste good but it also solidifies my cultivation. Linger looks cute, has superb cooking skills, my granddaughter is inferior in everything, I am really envious. Then Ancestor catches Qinpeng and says to him, Senior, let me exchange Murong Shui to Linger with you, okay? And Qinpeng says, what nonsense are you talking about here when you are full? Then the scene shifts to Murong Shui. And Murong Shui sneezes and she says, who is scolding me, by the way, where did my father and grandfather go on such an important matter? Ah. It's already here. And there is a flying ship in the sky which Murong Shui is looking at, and the flying ship comes down, and a beautiful girl comes out of the flying ship, and she is Imperial Princess Luo Lanqing. And Murong Shui says, Princess, it's been a long time since I saw you, you're really getting more and more beautiful. And Luo Lanqing says, you're still a good talker, but you really get bigger and bigger. And Murong Shui says, stop. It's not. And another man comes down from the flying ship and he says, cousin, didn't you see me, cousin? And he is Luo Xiaojie. And Murong Shui says, why are you here? Does the toad want to eat swan meat again? Xiaoqing, stay away from this guy. And Luo Xiaojie says, Princess, don't listen to this little girl's nonsense, I'm actually quite good. And Luo Xiaojie says, you are really tough now that you've grown up. Believe it or not, I bullied you when we were young. And Murong Shui says, huh? At that time, your cultivation base was high, and I really couldn't beat you, but now. Try it if you have the ability. And Murong Shui starts releasing her energy, seeing which Luo Xiaojie gets nervous and he says, how? How could it be? How did you do it? 8th layer of Yuaning. And Murong Shui says, how's that compared to you, the top 3 geniuses of the kingdom who's stuck at the core formation's 5th layer? And Luo Lanqing says, Xiaoxue, what's the matter with your cultivation? Is it related to that spirit sword? And Spirit Murong Shui is surprised to hear the name of the sword. Then Luo Lanqing tells her, that's right, that's why I came here today. That day, my father and I went out to participate in an auction. At night, I was admiring a mountain from the top of my attic. It's said that the mountain is a local attraction with countless natural treasures and resources. It is also the basis for the development of the city. But suddenly, a spirit sword passed across the mountain. That sword was probably deployed by a high-level cultivator when he was practicing martial arts. It cut off countless peaks and remained unabated. Not only me, many strong cultivators have come to this place in order to search for spirit sword. And Murong Shui says, actually, that was not a spirit sword, but a sword intent sent by the spirit sword. And Luo Lanqing says, you really know about it. Then Murong Shui's attention goes to Luo Xiaojie and she is angry with Luo Xiaojie, so she starts taking Luo Lanqing with her and says, Xiaoqing, let's talk in another place. I don't want this squid to eavesdrop. And Luo Xiaojie says, hey? Don't be like this, cousin. Bring me along too. And Murong Shui leaves with Luo Lanqing, and on the way she tells the entire story that happened. And Luo Lanqing says, Senior Immortal? Tea raises the level of spiritual roots? And meals improve one's cultivation? But she completely forgot to keep it secret. And Luo Lanqing says, is there such a strong deity? Are you lying to me? And Murong Shui says, of course I am not. I'll take you to meet Senior. But she, of course I am not. I'll take you to meet Senior. Then we look at Chenpeng, who is sitting under the tree and looking at the flute, and says, it's been a long time since I played the flute. I don't know if I still remember the tune. And then Murong Shui comes out of Chenpeng's courtyard. She opens the door and says, Senior, you are at home, great, can we come in? And Chenpeng says, Xiaoxue? Come in now. Why are you here today? And Murong Shui holds Luo Lanqing's hand and takes her inside. Start bringing it towards. But Luo Lanqing gets very nervous when she sees the surroundings and she says, Xiaoxue, this yard is too scary, so many powerful eyes are watching. And she thinks, why do I feel like I've been seen through? And Murong Shui says, relax, we're invited by the Senior so we won't be harmed. Senior, actually my friend wanted to see you, so I came here to disturb you. And Luo Lanqing nervously greets Chenpeng. And she thinks, as Xiaoxue said, what a high level of cultivation. I thought it would be a gray-haired old man. I didn't think it would be a handsome young man. And Chenpeng says, girl, you don't have to be polite, just relax. And Chenpeng thinks so. I'm being called a senior. I really don't have the slightest strength. And Suling asks, brother, who are they? And Murong Shui asks, Senior, who is this? And Chenpeng says, this is Xiaolinger, my sister. Xiaolinger, you just call them big sisters. And Suling says hello to both of them. And they both look at Suling and think, as expected of the senior's younger sister, she is so strong, but she's so cute, and they both hug Suling. And Chenpeng thinks, although it looks nice, it's not good to stare at. Let's continue with my flute. Then Chenpeng starts playing the flute, and as soon as Murong Shui hears the tune of the flute she gets surprised. And she starts looking at Chenpeng and she thinks, the sound of the flute?